Well,
Oh,
hello there, Stuart. Wake
I
up.
was enjoying that.
And
enormously.
welcome to anybody who might be listening, just in case there is anybody.
There definitely is.
Well, yeah. If you are listening and you have any points to make, then please throw them in the comments and we can pick them up. And I'll ask Stuart some awkward questions. And
It's very reasonable.
And before we get to the end and go, oh, let's think about the next one, we've actually decided to change, and we're the 2nd of October, isn't it? So the 2nd of October, 12:30 is our next version. So I think that's everything covered. Can we go now?
We can go.
No, we're Getting the Job Done was the title. Suggested by you, but you didn't suggest that title.
I sort of did suggest something to do with it.
Yeah,
but I don't believe
to do with resources.
But there you go.
And it was a bit too long to fit in the thing, so I thought let's make it sound cool. And in the meantime, because I'm doing my innovation assessments, my opinion of resources has actually changed. So we'll see how we go on.
Okay, let's start with that one then, Derek. Why has your opinion on resources changed?
Because people used to think traditionally, sort of in a project management sort of thing, resources are people, their time, their money, and really that was it. But now, as particularly we're talking more about innovating, resources are becoming sort of intellectual, digital, and so there is a shift. Well, that was my thinking years ago. Unless you put a patent in for something, intellectual property wasn't really considered at all. But it's coming more and more important. And of course, we had the news last night, didn't we, about the American investment coming along with Donald. So I'm not too enamored with Mr. Trump, but it's the fact that Microsoft, Google, and in particular Nvidia, are investing billions of pounds in this sort of stuff.
Yeah, and I must admit, I'm going to sort of the one thing that I'm really keen to sort of talk about resources is because for me, resources are a constraint within most organizations for several reasons. One of which is that very often the resources that we actually are talking about are human resources. They're people. They're the staff shortages and skills gaps that we're often sort of really battling against. But things like this, the discussions we've talked about here, also add in a whole bunch of other constraints which actually we haven't dealt with as organizations in order to be able to help us. Building a massive data center has two environmental considerations, one of which you've got to supply it with a major amount of electricity. The second of which is you've now got to find an awful lot of water to be able to supply. So there are some infrastructure problems that come with those sort of resources, which we need to deal with at a societal level, as well as being a business or, if you like, organizational issue. Having said that, I'm very aware of the fact that one of the things that I've obviously been involved in the past, and I'm still quite interested in, is the sort of life sciences industry in the UK, which is we're a major powerhouse, and have been for a number of years. And that's because we've built up a really strong couple of centres in places like Cambridge, Manchester, places like that, where there are huge numbers of talented people who are able to join that. But we are unable to supply those companies, those organizations, with the resources that they need in order to be able to grow. And that's largely financial. And so therefore, there are a number of things I think as businesses that we need to think about. It is about skills. It is about infrastructure. It is about the problems of being able to raise and allocate finances properly. But the one thing that sort of most of us spend our time thinking about are smaller than that. It trickles down to the fact that means that most managers are unable to do their job because they're not getting the support from government and from the organisations they need in order to be able to make things happen. And that starts a sort of a discussion about what is it that we want to achieve in terms of being able to grow a business. In many organisations, that's something that they're constrained to do because they don't have the right infrastructure to do it.
Indeed. How big was that soapbox?
That was enormous, wasn't it? And I apologise. I apologise for getting on it so early in the thing. But for me, when I started going on about we have resource constraints, we have need to get the job done. We cannot just look at individual managers and go grow this company. You can't look at a CEO and say grow this company. There are some really fundamental issues that need to be dealt with, and those fundamental issues start with liberating their ability to actually make a difference. Now,
it's outside the company, isn't it? Really, a lot of those things are. It almost becomes infrastructure, for want of a better word, the environment in which companies actually operate in, rather than the sort of micro environment, for want of a better.
Yes, it does.
That's inside the company, and is that the government?
Well, it depends. You see, this is where it does get into the deep philosophical, doesn't it? Because the people have to we have to allow ourselves to understand exactly what that means for our company. If we're going to build a large data center, it means water's going to get taken up. It's going to mean we're going to generate electricity. There will be a large thing sitting in a nice green field, probably, that somebody is going to look at and go, well, it looks very ugly, but that will generate jobs. If we're going to develop life sciences, we're going to have to turn around and say, okay, we need to liberate and we need to change the way in which we allocate capital. Now, all those are societal changes. All those are things which people need to buy into and decide that's what they want to do to grow their businesses. They want to see these jobs created in their area. But a lot of people, I think, nowadays are saying, well, that would disturb the way I live. And that's uncomfortable for all of us. So we have to get the balance right. We have to think about exactly how we make that balance right. And it is a difficult conversation, but it's no good looking around and saying, business managers, get your act together and grow a company, unless we provided the constraints and the framework for them to do that. And in which case, if we want to sort of, settle back into the 1950s and live like we're in the 1950s, that means that we're going to have to go back to organizations and businesses that were around in the 1950s. I don't think most people want to go back to that. Maybe I'm wrong. Certainly, yeah. I don't want to.
It also impinges on some of the recent goings on with migrants, etc. in Epping.
Well, you've managed to open a can of worms there, Derek.
I know, but I'm not going to talk about whether they should or shouldn't get in. But the people who are arguing against them are the sort of people saying they take our jobs, etc., etc. Now, if we do end up not going back to, post Second World War, and we have NVIDIA, Microsoft, and other people providing the infrastructure, we have a lot of jobs for, either university graduates or people who have done sort of in-depth technical college things, then that argument's still going to exist, because without casting too many aspersions on the people who are draped in flags and standing outside that hotel, they're not the sort of people that are going to be useful to those companies. I could get myself into a big hole here, but the argument they're taking our jobs, it won't actually work in that case. So the other question is, what do we do about, because ultimately we want to employ everybody, don't we? If in an ideal world everybody would be fully employed, making the best money they can do and spending it in the way they want. So I don't know what we do to make sure that we have the right businesses and the right people, and what do we do with everyone else that isn't
The-
at the moment.
These are tough societal problems, and these are the sort of things which we end up in a situation where it is difficult to be able to it is difficult to sort of just at this stage turn around and go, the way that we need to solve this is for people to work harder or to change the way in which we we allocate these resources. The problem that most innovators find is being able to move forward. There is always somebody somewhere that's going, but that'll change the way in which I currently work. That could change the way in which I currently live. That will change what I am doing. And that is not comfortable for most people. For me, getting the job done and allocating resources to be able to get the job done is often uncomfortable. And it's what we as innovators, is what we as transformation people find all the time. We're currently coming up against things which are, it is the hard job of change. People inherently say, I want things to be better, but I don't want to have to do anything different in order to get there. And that's a tough challenge to be able to break down that barrier, Derek. And that for me is the conversation that we need to have at the moment. How much change, how much doing things different, how much in the way in which we need to sort of adjust our thinking do we need to go through in order to be able to continue being the powerhouse that we really want to be.
Yeah, and again, there's another slight difference. If you can, with the idea of making larger companies more productive, that's one thing. The one thing I've noticed from, well, it depends what getting the job done is. What is the job? But if the job is something that a big company does, then, well, yes, that can be done largely in a I don't know, post Second World War type of environment. But if getting the job done is solving problems, which is effectively what I'm looking at the moment with the Innovation Awards, then the problems that are being solved, or the problems that need to be solved, can be solved with very few people. I mean, I'm seeing companies turning over tens, if not hundreds of millions of pounds, and you look at the staffing, and there's maybe 20 people, and they're solving major problems. So that's not going to solve society's. Well, it's going to solve society's problems, but not solve the problems to do with the fabric of society, where people become skilled and employed.
Well, so this is interesting, because I think we are now close to starting to see organizations which are going to have very high valuations because they're solving problems with very few people doing them, because we have started to deploy technology to do it, haven't we? We've got a number of, I know a number of people who are building a company. They're a one-person company, but with various AI agents and with automation in order to help them, they are doing everything without the need to employ people to do it. Now, that is a great way of generating value for some individuals, but is it a great way of building a large business? It will be a valuable business. It will solve a lot of problems with very few people. Is that what we are? Is that what we're now doing? And this goes back to my point. This means, and I'm very aware there are a lot more people out there that are very much more aware of and knowledgeable in this. But does that mean we need to change the way in which we tax, and the way in which we start to sort of look at what a company means? Because it's no longer about employment. It might be about one or two people solving the problem with a bunch of AI agents. Is that the right thing? I don't know. It is a way, and it might be the right way, but it's different to what we're currently doing at the moment. And therefore, we are a little bit like, and I'm sure this, getting the job done at the moment is a bit like it was at the very beginning of the Industrial Revolution. We are beginning to see changes in the way in which people get the jobs done. We haven't yet made all of the right choices and investments in order to be able to do that. The first few factories after the Industrial Revolution did not take advantage of all of the new power of the machines, largely because they had to change their processes, largely because they had to change their configuration, largely because they had to change the way in which they worked. And it was not easy to invest that capital to make those changes rapidly. And I think we're at a very similar situation. We are now learning again how to get jobs done in a new technological world.
Especially with the sharing of knowledge and data, which is something that didn't happen. I mean, if you wind back Industrial Revolution type times, and you look at Henry Ford and using scientific management, that was the big thing. It was all about efficiency and making, compartmentalizing things into little building blocks. But now, all of those cells, if you like, have got fuzzy edges, and stuff gets shared. And with AI, who knows? Those little cells don't even have people in them. So I mean, and with AI being used to, discover new drugs and things like that, that's completely different to what's gone on before.
Well, so we reach about 20 minutes of opinionating. Do we have to draw a conclusion to this one, Derek, or do we just turn around and say, this week we've had questions, next time we'll have more questions?
The whole idea is we're stimulating debate, or if nobody is actually listening, we're stimulating our own thoughts, I guess. I mean,
and I think the thoughts we have are they are, for me, critical, because we need to get to the stage where we are as innovators, we are as people who are involved in this. We need to be aware of what we truly believe are the right ways to move forward and embrace it and operate. But they're not easy to make decisions. Now, the one thing that I will say, that as a scientist and as somebody who has in the past run businesses, although I'm sort of not involved in running anything but my own business at the moment, but working with a number of other businesses who are sort of doing this, you can always, you can't stop and just wait. It's a bit like a moving ship. You have to be moving in one direction, because it's the power of the engine to actually make the change which is required. So even if you think to yourself, well, we may be going in the wrong direction, move in a direction. You can always change the rudder and change the direction if you've got power and if you're moving already. If you stop and wait, the ship becomes subject to the world of drift, and there is nothing that will ground you quicker than drifting on the high seas. You have to start moving and say, I'm going in a direction, even if you might think to yourself, I've got to change direction next week. Start moving in one direction.
Yeah, and the other thing I think that's important, apart from moving and Chameleonomist, of course, I had to get that in.
You have to.
It is the idea of just letting people know what's happening, because haven't heard too many people sort of espousing strategy on a company basis. But if you take a look at the politicians who will be announcing, oh, look, Google's coming, Nvidia's coming, oh, this is going to be great, and people are going to be sitting there watching the telly tonight when it's on the news or whatever, going, so what? And I think that's the problem. And in companies, you've got two problems. You've got so what and what's in it for me.
Yeah.
Which means I'm not going to do that if I don't see what's in it for me.
Yeah.
If you start by telling people, your job's going to be more interesting, ultimately we're going to get better products, sell more products or more services. It's going to be a much better play. Just paint a picture, and people will go, yeah, and you can move quite happily. That movement. So yes, bit of storytelling, picture painting, and get moving.
All seems like a very reasonable suggestion to me.
It is. It's all part of Chameleonomist. Twice.
He's got it in again. He's got it in
again. And I've been messing about with AI avatars for me doing video, but I created one of Colin the Chameleon. So
Oh, did you really?
I did. I've got to sharpen it up a bit, but yeah.
I'm
Colin the
looking forward.
Chameleon with an Indian accent.
When will Colin the Chameleon actually make that that first?
I don't know. When I've got a tiny bit more time to spend some time on him, but yeah, I've had a go and created
Oh,
one.
I look forward to seeing Colin in the flesh, as it were. Then,
yeah,
if that's the right way of putting it.
in the well, I don't know if it's flesh or sculpture, but yes, in real. Well, it's not real life, is it? It's unreal.
No, it's not real life. It's whatever classifies as real life nowadays. Derek, I'm not sure what that is actually.
So there we go. Well, that's it, I guess. 2nd of October.
Yeah, we'll come back and do the whole thing again.
We'll come back and do the whole thing again with as much seriousness as we can muster.
I take myself seriously, but not myself too seriously.
Right. Okie dokie. Well, say goodbye to everybody then, Stuart.
Goodbye to everybody then, Stuart.
Goodbye to everybody then, Stuart.